Mr. Cornaro, could you please explain us what is the European Neighbourhood Package and why the EU Commission is publishing it every year?
The European Neighbourhood Package gives us the opportunity to take stock on the three broad strands of the neighbourhood policy. As you know, the one would be a deepening democratic transformation. The second is the new outreach we're trying to get with a partnership for people and with civil society. And the third broad strand is what we broadly call deepening sustainable development and inclusive growth. Now we put those three strands together and then we look once a year across the board on seeing how countries have compared. Less against each other, but in relative terms where they stood a year ago.
Mr. Cornaro, which countries in the southern neighbourhood are delivering on the reform agenda? And could you make concrete examples of main achievements and constraints?
Well, we're looking at three things. We're looking at democratic transition, we're looking at the partnership with people, and we're looking at sustainable development. Now, not all of the countries have performed similarly on all fronts, but I think it's fair to say, to simplify, to single out certainly Tunisia, which still with remarkable effort is ploughing ahead a very difficult transition process. And otherwise, on substance also, I'm very pleased to note to what extent we managed to improve relations with Morocco under the statut avancé, the advanced status. But if I were to take other examples, like how we managed to reach out to civil society, we notice that there's a healthy mushrooming in many of the countries, Tunisia, even Libya, Egypt, Morocco, Lebanon. But also at the same time, we need to register that the registration process for some of these NGOs have become a bit more difficult. And this is exactly something we put to the fore in these progress reports.
And which countries in the eastern neighbourhood are delivering on the reform agenda?
Again, overall, there to simplify, it is fair to single out Moldova with remarkable efforts, followed also by Georgia, a lot on the doing business sustainable growth agenda. And also Armenia, having tried a lot to advance more closely to the European Union agenda. You know that Belarus is a more complicated aspect, and there we were more or less restrained to work with the civil society. And on Ukraine, the largest partner there, it was sort of a give and take in a very difficult year 2012, where we had to note this gradual progress on some areas, but also backtracking on others. And finally, Azerbaijan also with having slightly taken more distance to the European Union agenda, but also that I think we can take good note of in these reports and make it a common, publicly well understood theme.
Do you think that the EU Commission is doing enough to respond to the needs of these countries from the south and from the east?
Well, it's always difficult to do enough, I mean, to be fair. But one very interesting information to share is the population perception. We have recently published the Eurobarometer to check what does the population think about Europe. And there I'm quite pleased to say that our agenda has been much better understood, with already 40% of the population, both in the south and the east, having a very positive perception of Europe. And the encouraging thing is that the positive perception is very much on the core themes we're putting our emphasis on in the neighborhood, like to be firm on democratic transition, to be firm on the inclusive growth agenda, and also to be firm on the way we seek more transparency. So I do see our credibility very much linked, notably in the eyes of the populations, linked to us continuing with a credible agenda.